Especially this here, we're hanging out at Court the Speedway with OSCAAR Modified Tour competitor Dave Terry, and Dave, you're really one of the rookies that have sort of jumped up into this division, onto the tour, and really made a name for yourself in an awful hurry. Has the 2012 season gone the way you'd expected it would?
It's gone a lot better than the way we thought it was. We set some goals for ourselves at the beginning of the year, and we've already met all those goals except for Rookie of the Year, and that's what we're doing today. Is we're going to try and stay consistent, just so we can wrap that up. If we can do that, our season is more than complete. Like we've already accomplished more than what we set out to in the beginning.
I mean, we're just coming off of the Velocity event at Sunset Speedway where you had a runner-up finish. I mean, you looked as though you were the class of the field that day. If you had a couple more laps, you certainly would have had something for eventual winner Gary McLean. And I mean, it really just showed the dramatic improvement that you've had since breaking into the open wheel modifieds at the beginning of 2012. I mean, is the pressure on now through the back half of the playoff season here to try to follow up that performance?
Yeah, I think it is too, and it's going to be difficult today because this is a track I have not been on in a long time. I raced mini stock here about 10 years ago, but as you know, the track's changed, and obviously we're in a whole different animal of race car today too. So it's going to be tough to stay consistent around because there's a lot of ModSport cars here too, and a lot of cars I haven't raced against before. If I can finish in the top 5, it would be like a win for us today.
What's been the biggest adjustment since jumping up into the high horsepower open wheel modifieds? Because I know that you had no experience with this type of car coming into the season. So what's been the hardest thing to come to grips with?
I'd say the hardest thing so far would be just handling the horsepower increase. Even though it's a little crate, it still has a lot more horsepower than what a mini stock has, and just being careful around other guys when you're racing in traffic and stuff like that. But I believe that I've gained a lot of respect from some of the elders and some of the older drivers that have been doing this for a long time.
First season on the tour, first season with the car. Obviously, it's not like you have a huge notebook to go back to. I mean, what sort of stumbles have you guys run into in terms of setting up the car for some of these new tracks?
A lot of it's just been me learning the track, because that's usually the first thing before we start setting up the car. Is I get out there, the first practice is usually me getting used to the track, if it's a track we haven't been to yet. And then after that we start working on setup, and we've come a long way in our setups. I'm really getting good at giving Dad feedback so he can wrench on the car and we can make improvements on it. And it seems to be working, just like last week at Sunset.
Now, what's the history on this chassis? Where did this car come from before it was graced with the number 14?
The car came from Connecticut. It came from Bear Motorsports. It was driven by Teddy Christopher a few times, and a guy named Rob Summers, who races Super Modifieds, he also won a New Smyrna championship with it.
Now, what has been your favorite facility to go to this season?
Sunset, absolutely. When we first went there for the first race of the season, we went on the track with zero practice. The first time I sat in the seat of this car was the first practice before we went racing. So the second time there, we unloaded with that little bit of experience. We were able to capitalize on it and run real good.
For you to come out and exceed expectations in your rookie season, what sort of goals will you follow up for with your sophomore campaign?
If we can get the rookie of the year, that'll just our confidence boost and stuff like that. The changes we'll make to the car over the winter, we'll be ready for a championship run.
Now go ahead and thank some people for me, Dave.
I'd like to thank Waysco, I'd like to thank Killer Electric, Wally Brennan Haulage, Snow Brothers Contracting, Stewart's Farm Equipment, Man Machine, of course Waysco, and Castrol.
Final question before we wrap it up. You've gotten a chance to run alongside virtually everybody on the OSCAAR tour, every OSCAAR regular. Who's been your favorite driver to compete against so far?
Yeah, it's fun to race with Gary McLean because you know, you're always comparing yourself to him and stuff like that, but I also like Brent because we've kind of become buddies and stuff like that. We're always chit-chatting, making fun of each other on Twitter and stuff, so and our cars are virtually twins, so it's pretty fun to race against him too.
Appreciate the time, buddy. Best of luck the rest of the season, and good luck heading into 2013.
Absolutely. We'll see you down in colors.
There you go, folks. Representing the OSCAAR Modified Tour here at Court, the driver to number 14 Waysco machine. It is Dave Terry.